Christ Center Mental Health Community. Me, David Lee Chu Sarche. I represent Christ Center Mental Health, the ministry where I before I get started on this video, I just have a couple announcements for those of you that are new to this channel. You can support this ministry through prayer, and you can also support this ministry through Patreon. And also, the ministry does have a website, so please check it out. It's called Christ Center Mental Health. Like the links to these will be in the description box below. And also, on the ministry website, we have contact information, so you can contact me or someone on my team for peer support. So yeah. So as you can tell, the title of this video is titled "Dealing with a Narcissistic Ex." And the reason why I decided to make this video was to, number one, just to raise awareness of something that happens to a lot of people. And I just want to let, if you're going through a similar experience, I just want to let you know that that it's okay. It's not your fault, and it's okay to get out. Like, you don't have to feel like you have to be obligated to stay in a toxic relationship when it's not good for you. So I want to share my experience with you and show you that I understand what you're going through, and hopefully this video will give you hope for give you hope for a better outcome. Give you hope that there are good people out there, and because I don't want anybody out there who's going through a situation like this to lose hope that there's good people out there, because just because you're going through a situation where you're dealing with a narcissistic person, that doesn't mean all people are like that. God knows you better than you know yourself, and He knows who would be a perfect match for you. So you just trust the Lord, and He'll lead you to the right person you're meant to be with. So anyway, so to tell you a little story, tell you about what I went through. Okay, in about 2016, I met a woman named Natasha. I'm not gonna mention her last name, but her name was Natasha. And I mean, in the beginning when we first started talking, it seemed she was easy to talk to. She seemed to understand mental illness because she has a degree in psychology, and she seemed to have a good understanding of mental illness. And as you know, you should know me by now. Like, I really like it when the person I'm with has some kind of understanding of mental health. And she also seemed to be very caring towards me. Like, there was a time when, like, I couldn't afford my phone bill, and she paid my phone bill. There was a time when I didn't have any food, and she would send monthly care packages to me in the mail, where she would buy groceries and send packages in the mail to my residence, so just to make sure I had food to eat. So, like, in the beginning, things seemed to go really well. There was some things even in the beginning, though, looking back, that were red flags, and I mean, people pointed these out to me, and I was too blinded to notice them, or I maybe I was in denial, like I didn't want to notice them. But one of the red flags was she told me that she wanted to be with someone without any attachments, because she just wanted someone to be attached to her. And that caused her to manipulate me into turning against my good friends and turning against even my sisters. Um, like that was, and I ended up causing like a lot of hurt to my friends and my sisters, and I'm still dealing with the ramifications of that to this day. Another thing, anytime I would express an opinion that differed from hers, she would shame me by telling me, "You're acting too white," or something stupid like that. Also, another red flag, she would manipulate me into thinking that all of our problems were solely my fault. Like, she rarely ever took responsibility for anything she did. She always made me think I was the one at fault, and all our problems were my fault. And I would constantly apologize for things that I probably shouldn't have been apologizing for. But she made me feel guilty and made me feel like everything was my fault. Um, Also, she would get jealous anytime a girl like was nice to me and talked to me, and or if I was nice to a girl and talked to her, like she would get extremely jealous. Um, another thing, like there was a time when I was living with her in New Jersey. First of all, we were living in sin. We shouldn't have been living together to begin with. But when I was living with her in New Jersey, um, there was a time where I was kind of out of my mind, and I posted some pornographic images on the internet, and she found them. And when I was in the mental hospital, she 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 posted those images on my Facebook because she had access to my Facebook. And at first she denied it, but then later on she admitted that she did it, and she ended up blackmailing me, saying that if I ever betrayed her, she could ruin my life with this. And so that caused me to really put up with a lot of stuff from her because um, I, I didn't want her to ruin my life. I felt shame for what I did, and I didn't want her to ruin my life. There was a time where she talked me into going out to Indianapolis. Like I like just left my sisters, like abandoned my sisters and went out to Indianapolis for this woman because she talked me into going out to Indianapolis and getting a job. And I was supposed to save up for an apartment, and she was gonna move. She said she was gonna move out there with me. Like again, like we were completely living in sin. Like we weren't supposed to be living together, period. But this woman had me wrapped around her finger. She manipulated me. I was like literally doing anything she wanted me to do because I felt like, I mean, I was desperate to be in a relationship. And because that she saw that desperation and she really like worked on it. um like towards like then like eventually like there was a my mental health when I was in New Jersey. My mental health was slowly declining because the psychiatrist that I was seeing out there couldn't find me the right medication to put me on. And there was a time where, during that time, I mean, I was in and out of hospitals in New Jersey, and during that time, she ended up having two bowel obstructions. Um, yeah, and like because of the bowel obstruction, because of her surgeries, she like I don't know, she started like experiencing like these invisible bugs that were biting her. And I say invisible because nobody saw them, like, and nobody believed her that there was bugs biting her. But I believed her because I actually saw the bite marks on her, but there was no explanation where they were coming from. But they were driving her insane, like, because it kept biting her everywhere she went. And and this all escalated into a moment when she actually started physically abusing me. She would punch me in the face, smack me, and I just kind of just took it. I didn't hit her back because I'm the type of guy. I don't believe in or I don't believe in touching a woman out of anger. Like I don't believe that. I let her physically abuse me, and I just kept my mouth shut. I didn't tell anybody. I think I told a friend of mine because like around this time I would secretly make phone calls to my friends back in Colorado. And when she wasn't around, like I was really, I had to be really sneaky because whenever she found out that I was calling my friends back in Colorado, she would get really upset and think I was betraying her because I was calling my friends back in Colorado. And but like so I would tell my friends about how she started assaulting me, and they were telling me that I need to get out of that relationship, and I wouldn't listen to them. I said, oh well, it's my fault. I kept blaming myself. And then one day, like, she got really mad at me. I don't remember what she got mad at me about. Oh, she got mad at me because it was one day she caught one of my friends texting me, and she saw the text message, and she got mad, and she broke a mirror over my back. And and then she went to grab a coffee pot full of hot water, and she went to throw that at me, but the water flew out and hit her in the back of her neck. Um, but yeah, that was pretty bad. Well, um, I eventually I I decided I started like hearing voices telling me to hurt her, and I started like getting vivid dreams that I was actually killing her, and it scared me, and I decided I was gonna just up and leave. And like up and leave. One day like she was at work, and I was waiting for her at a I think it was a Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah, I was waiting for our Dunkin' Donuts because, well, what would happen normally? I would go with her to work, and I'd wait for her at the local Starbucks till she got off work. But I the Starbucks was closed that day, so I went to the local Dunkin' Donuts in Red Bank, New Jersey, and she worked at Meridian Hospital. I forgot what it was called, but it was a Meridian Hospital in Red Bank, New Jersey, and I went to the local Dunkin' Donuts, and I was waiting there, and I remember like I didn't initially plan on leaving. I remember that day I was talking to my sister and I was like really excited about the fact that me and her were about to get an apartment the next day. And but then after I hung up the phone, I decided to go for a walk around the block. And then I went to the bank just to see if I can pull out my money out of the bank because at the time my ex was my payee. Yes, she talked me into becoming my payee for Social Security. Like um she wouldn't allow me to be my own payee. She talked me into making her the payee. But I went to the bank, and for some reason, I just had this idea to try and pull the money out. And when I realized that they were gonna let me pull the money out, I stopped real quick. And I walked out of the bank, and I paced around for a little while. And I was like, you know what? And I went to the bank, and I pulled the money. I pulled all the money out, and I don't know, just on a whim, I decided to call a taxi. I went back to our rooming house that we were staying in, and I packed up all our stuff. I packed up all my most of my stuff, as much stuff as I could carry, and I wrote a letter apologizing for what I was about to do. And then I got on. I had the cab driver give me a ride to the train station in I think it was in Spring Lake, and cause that's where we were staying at the time. We are in Spring Lake. No, it was Keensburg. It was in Keensburg, and we went to the train station. And I got on the train, went to New York, and got myself a Greyhound ticket in New York, and went back to Colorado. Um, I remember that day, because she would call me up, and she was in tears, and I felt really bad, but I felt like I needed to leave, so I didn't let her talk me into coming back. But then I ended up talking to her still for 2 years after this incident because I felt guilty for the way I left. And she berated me the whole 2 years. She made me feel like it was my fault that she was homeless, even though she could have gone back to her parents, and she chose not to. And she made it seem like it was my fault that she was homeless, and she just berated me the whole 2 years and made me feel even more guilty. She told me things like, no one will ever love you like I did." And by the way, she told me this even when I was in New Jersey, that no one will ever love me like she does. And she made me really believe that no one will ever love me. And she would tell me about her boyfriends that she had and stuff like that. And she would kind of brag about her going on dates. And then after I had my mom with me when I went to California and got my mom off the street, um, she like she still kept in contact with me while I was taking care of my mom, but she wanted me to be on the phone with her all the time. She wanted my whole attention, and I ended up paying more attention to her than I was to my mom because I didn't want to make her mad. And I mean, eventually, when it got to a point where I did finally start talking to my mom again, my mom didn't want to talk to me anymore because she gave up talking to me because I was ignoring her for Natasha this whole time. Um, and I regret that because now that I don't have my mom anymore, I just wish I could talk to her again. I really feel bad that I allowed this woman to manipulate me into not spending time with my mom. Um, but and then when me and my mom were in Ohio, first came to Ohio, Natasha almost manipulated me into ditching my mom, leaving her homeless to go back to New Jersey. I was actually applying for Georgian Court University, and I was planning on coming back to New Jersey, but thank God I didn't do it. I kept on feeling this intense guilt inside of me for what I was planning on doing, and I remember I restrained myself. I didn't tell her that that wasn't planning on coming back because I knew she was gonna get mad. So I made it seem like I was planning on coming back. So I acted like I was getting ready to go to Georgian court, and I acted like I was going through the motions of preparing to move to New Jersey. But deep down, I really didn't intend to, because I don't know, I didn't want to leave my mom. I didn't want to leave my mom homeless. And I know, like, that's another thing. That's another thing that this girl, like, made me feel guilty. She made me feel guilty for caring about my mom. Like, um, she wanted me to only care about her. So anytime I expressed any kind of care for my mom, she would get really upset about me caring about my mom and wanting to be there for my mom. She would use the Bible against me. She would say, "Oh, you're a man. You're supposed to leave your father and mother and cleave to me, your wife." And even though I wasn't married to her, um, like, I wasn't married to her, so I actually had no obligation to this woman, but she would make me feel guilty as if I did have an obligation to her. Um, and then, and then after I met my wife that I'm with now, like, when I started talking to her, I stopped talking to Natasha. I blocked her, and that actually really made her mad. Like, when I got married, she actually, last year when I went in for surgery, she kept on blowing up my phone. She didn't realize that my wife had my phone at the time, and she kept on blowing up my phone, talking about how my wife will never love me as much as she does and stuff like that. She just kept on blowing up my phone and kept saying all this stuff. And then, like, even when I was in the hospital, when I finally got my phone back, she still kept on trying to contact me. And I eventually just ended up, when I got out of the hospital, I eventually ended up changing my number so she wouldn't be able to contact me anymore. And then just recently, um, she ended up getting a hold of my ministry number, and she started texting me on the ministry number. She started emailing me on the ministry email, saying all this stuff. "Oh, we're so compatible, and you shouldn't be with your wife, you should be with me," bragging about the kind of house she has and what kind of money she's making. And um, she started putting down my wife, and like and like just being like, and we actually attempted to file a restraining order on her. We filed a police report, and the police officer um, called her and told her to leave me alone, and she acted like she wasn't her. and and after they hung up, 5 minutes later, she emails me saying that, um just cussing me out. And then that's the last I heard from her so far. We're hoping we don't hear from her again. We're hoping that's the last of it. um but yeah, like, she, like, I'm hoping this nightmare is over. We are hoping that this is over, because we really don't want to hear from her anymore. Like, um yeah, like, I don't wish any ill will on her. I don't hate her. I feel bad for her, actually. I I feel bad for her, because she's obviously has a lot of insecurities. She's also obviously full of hurt and pain, and she's lashing out of that hurt and pain. And like, honestly, the only thing that's gonna help her, number one, is her coming to understand the gospel, and number two, professional counseling. Like, because she needs it. And I do pray for her that the Lord will get a hold of her and draw her to Himself and reveal the gospel to her, have her come to a full understanding of the gospel. Because I remember when I was in New Jersey, she would act like she was a Christian just to get me to be more attracted to her. She wasn't actually a Christian. She would just pretend to be a Christian. And and that's actually a sign of a narcissist. They will act like they belong to a group just to make themselves more appealing to you. And so, like, but yeah, I hope she does come to a real understanding of the gospel, and that she does get saved. And I do hope that she gets some professional counseling. All right. Like I said, I made this video because I want to tell people that are in a similar situation that, first off, I understand what you're going through. It seems really tough, and I know you're probably thinking to yourself, you probably can't see the red flags right now in your relationship. But I want to let you know, like, listen to the people who are closest to you, your friends and family, because they, in a time like this, it's indicative that you have that you listen to people who are objective observers. Because right now, you cannot trust your own reasoning, you cannot trust your own perception. You need to listen to the people who know you best, and they can be objective about your relationship. So, and like, don't be afraid to ask someone for help, because like I said, you can't see what's going on yourself. Your eyes are color, you have rose colored glasses, for, so to speak. And like, you're seeing everything through a lens that makes it seem like everything's okay, but things are not okay. If you're in a relationship with a narcissistic, toxic person, things are not okay. um and don't feel guilty, like don't feel guilty about asking for help. Don't feel guilty about wanting out of the relationship. Like, narcissistic people will take advantage of your guilt, but don't let them take advantage. Don't let them make you feel guilty. It's actually a sign of wisdom and courage to say, I want out of this toxic relationship. um like, the bottom line is, you deserve better. You don't deserve to be in a relationship with someone who's going to abuse you. Like, like, I believe that God, like, I do believe in a concept of soulmates. Like, I believe that God predestines everyone you're with, that you're meant to be with. And I know, like I said earlier, God knows you better than you know yourself. So He knows who you need in your life that will be perfect for you. And I mean, like, God led me to my wife, and she's perfect for me. She's everything I could ever want for, I could ever want. She's everything I could ever need, and I love her dearly. She's everything to me. So, like, you can have the same thing. You just gotta trust the Lord and just wait on Him. Like, God is good, and God is just, and God is love. So God will be there for you. You can trust Him. Like a good father, He knows what you need. So you can just lean on Him and just trust Him to guide you. Um, yeah, that's all I have to say. I do want to thank everybody for watching this video. Like, I appreciate you, and I hope this video helps you out. And if this ministry has blessed you, please consider supporting the ministry via Patreon. If you give to the ministry, it'll give you access to a private Discord community and a devotional on faith and mental illness. I'm working on getting a hard copy of my devotional published, so keep an eye out for that. Like, I will let you know when it's published. I'm trying to get it published by July 1st, so keep an eye out for that. Also, like I said earlier, me and my team are available for 24-hour peer support. If you click on the link to check out the ministry website, there's a section on there that says contact. Click on that, and you can contact me via email, through the phone number, or you can contact one of my team members through their emails. All right, and we do have a Christian counselor, so you can contact her as well. All right, have a good day. God bless you, and stay strong in the Lord. All right, bye.